has his truck stock versus another technician. And what we ended up doing was we launched a server for our communication between, so our company communication is more parallel. It can go any direction and vice versa, but also anyone can pick up where somebody else left off. And we can just have a more monitored factual data, like here is, the ultimate proof. And so, yeah, as of this week, it should clean up really nice.
Nice. Are you talking like dispatch, taking in like calls from leads? Or are you talking about more on the back end?
Yeah, this is just back end in-house communication. So
Okay.
creating a server, like a chat server. So, parts department can talk with technicians. Admin can still monitor everything. There's an admin chat, for us that, other ones aren't allowed into. There's general chat, but we also put on there tech support, and we added voice channels to those. So if someone's having a problem, he can just go at all, here, and instantly all the technicians get an alert. Hey, we got a tech that needs help, and he's stuck on a unit. Well, anybody can join into that voice chat and instantly help them.
Nice.
So the idea with the communication is we're looking at our numbers and like, how can we take our numbers right now and improve by 15, 20%? I don't want my technicians working later. I don't want, to add more calls. I want to look at what we're running right now. How can we improve? And the biggest thing on that was, like first time, and then, time in customers' houses and checking over things. So if we have a technician that's stuck on a call and he's, there 2 hours, then, it's not helping numbers at all. So just to go 15, 20%, I think streamlining our part inventory, being able to know what every one of our trucks is running and not running, so we can properly prepare it. So if it does run into something where he says, I just don't see enough of those, to stock that. I'm like, well, we do. You're stocking it. So when he does run across it, it's able to be a complete.
Nice. What software platforms are you using for this?
I went with Discord.
Okay.
It actually was able to accommodate everything I wanted.
Cool. I'll have to check that out.
It worked pretty well. I mean, we can do admin, we can do videos, I can do pictures, I can do voice. It's free to join, and I can break it off into channels. So I can channel everything out. I can say parts. I can do troubleshooting. I can do billing and scheduling. If someone purchases a receipt on there, I can put receipts on there and have everything funnel into one spot. And then we can scroll back through it and see, okay, what were we missing or what didn't get done.
Nice. Nice. And no, keep going.
It's just a little bit of in-house cleanup that I think can get us a little bit more faster, running through our day-to-day more effectively.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. And that sounds good. What were those? What were you measuring against? We'll call them KPIs usually. Like you're talking about average time for repair, but essentially, how are you going to gauge the effectiveness and track that goal towards 15% increase?
If you look over like a 6-month, profit and loss statement, you can see, okay, well, I'm averaging, our medial gross is about this, our medial expense is about this, and then our average calls per week is this. So how everything breaks down, it's going to give you a grandmaster average on per call. If you actually looked at everything and you broke everything down and you say, well, right now we're sitting at $165 per call. So how can we make that $185 per call? Just a little bit, because when you talk about doing that over 300 calls, that $15 difference turns into $3,000, pretty fast. So looking over everything, and it's simple things. It's trying to make more money. It's not about I think it's more about priority and quality than it would be volume.
Mhm.
I mean, if we can raise the bar on that 165 to 185, well, then that's a profit on everything. So we're the ones that we're making second trips on. We're the ones that we're getting stuck on and we're dragging too much time out, so something else gets bumped off. It's not about working harder. I think it's more about working smarter. So if there was a part that only cost $20 and I could have stocked it, and prevented this, great. So I think that the in-house cleaning that we're looking at is we're kind of looking at all spectrums. And if we raise the bar on every level, well, then that should give us the added edge to improve our profits by 15-20%.
No, that sounds good. Not only spring cleaning for the home, but spring cleaning for the business.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Then on top of getting more organic leads and the quality of our calls, that's going to be a natural boost by itself. So yeah, I mean, looking at everything, yeah, it's a good direction to go. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't go down by trying to make improvements like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely constant improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Rochelle, you might need to unmute yourself. I just muted you with some microwave sounds going on.
Okay.
How's everything looking for you? Like, is team orientation the same, or are you growing with some more techs yet, or?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. My main focus is that I am looking at my high profit areas and focusing on those. Like prime example, I'm coming from a tech standpoint or IT standpoint. So for instance, dryers is like the simplest thing you can repair, right? So right now I have someone working on a website to drive traffic for dryers for the entry level techs. Like pretty much they can't jack up a dryer. You follow me?
Right.
So that is a focus that I'm working on because I mean you're dealing with heating elements, timers, and start switches, and maybe a motor for something that's older than 30. You know what I mean? If you're dealing with a gas dryer, maybe an igniter situation. But at the end of the day, that's where my techs, the apprentices start. And I feel like that in itself could be like a niche market. So I have someone working on a site called ifixdryers.com and just focusing on this area and leads just so I can maximize, because then I'll be able to take that blueprint and go into something else because I'm really big about niches. And then when you deal with niches, like you see these guys that focus on laundromat parts and these guys that only deal with laundry. Like I have a lot of customers. I have a customer that has a $9.5 million home. He's got a damn laundromat in his house. He won't upgrade the damn speed queens or whatever the hell they are, and I pride myself on not touching anything older than me. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to go toward the future, baby. Period.
One thing I've learned is if you're a specialist, and that's a good word to use because it shows in a positive direction. If you're a specialist and you work on laundry only, well, your grid coverage has to be larger. You cannot just do and say, well, I don't do dishwashers, I don't do stoves, I don't do microwaves, and I don't do refrigeration, but I do laundry, and I want a full day. I mean, the time and the distance that you'd have to travel to make sure that you're only doing laundry, because out of the, let's say 15 potential customers that you had for that day, 8 of them will give it 8. So we'll give it 55%, whatever. 8 of them are going to be laundry. I mean, that's all you got for the day, and your grid's going to be larger to kind of accommodate for that, to keep them moving around. Or if you had a more generalized technician that could work on anything, his pattern, his logistic, grid area can be much smaller because he's covering every type of appliance. He gets 15 calls inside of a 20-mile grid, or he's good. Let him do 5-minute calls a piece, and that technician is going to make way more than that specialist is, because that specialist has to cover a larger grid to do the same amount of ability. So in reality, I mean, the highest profit appliance to work on is refrigeration. You're going to make the most amount of money on refrigeration. Dryers come second, and stoves third. And then it breaks down from there. But in any aspect, like what I like to do is I want to have 3 general techs and run those in zones, and then 1 specialist, which would be the lead technician, which would handle all the escalated calls, all the sealed systems, all the high-end harder work. So that high-end tech may have to be driving all around, but he's going to be working on the hardest stuff and the stuff that's going to make the most amount of profit. So prime example, if I go do 3 escalated, calls and then 1 sub-zero, I still ended up with over $1,500 for the day profit. So for 1 technician to draw $1,500 profit, that's great. Let my other guys run a denser area and I'll pick up the entrails. So, I mean, when you look at, like the quality type and the call volume, it's really about your techs, your call volume, and what your tech's ability is. If you can overlap your technician's grids, and let's say I have a technician that is only laundry. Well, I'm going to overlap him with a general tech. So any of those 2 technicians are going to have a call on refrigeration inside that little area in between them. I'm going to send both of them to that call. Now, granted, it's only 1 call, but that technician that only does laundry is going to learn refrigeration a little bit here and there. So maybe over the course of a month, he's going to get exposure to, let's say, 8 or 9 calls. And then, you talk with them and say, okay, the next one that comes up, you're going to be the one working on it, but I'm going to have another tech there to shadow you. So I want that technician to watch you and see how he does, but don't help him, not unless he asks for it. And, and that's how you develop a second skill with another technician and how you edge into the next level. Now, and that's with the example that you have a couple technicians. If you're the only technician and you're trying to learn into a new area, you really just got to have time. I mean, because you can't just expect to pick up the ball and run.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to sit there, you got to figure it out. The better thing I like to do with it is when you're taking it apart, it doesn't matter if it's the spot that you're troubleshooting or not. When you're taking it apart, learn about it. Okay, I got 4 connectors on an ice maker. What are they? This, and that. Okay, well, how does this ice maker know when to make ice and when to call for water?
Exactly.
Learn that. 15 degrees to call for water, 7 degrees to harvest, or whatever design you're working on. If you're working on refrigeration, the big thing is going to be 3 factors: the ability to get cold, the ability to circulate the airflow, and the ability to regulate temperature. You have to be able to turn it off and turn it on, and also defrost would be in there as well. But I mean, once you start to learn those different fundamentals, how you tie that in later on is going to make things a lot easier in the long run. If you're troubleshooting something that and it can't get cold, then what's the first thing you're going to look at? Is the compressor running? If the compressor's running and you don't got something cold, feel that back wall, feel that evaporator. Is it cold there? Do you hear a fan running? Identifying, is it an airflow issue or do we have an actual sealed system failure? So expose that evaporator, take a look. If there's a full frost pattern, okay, I got full frost pattern, I have the ability to get cold, but I'm not circulating the airflow. And then usually you're going to find a restricted damper, a blocked air duct, a circulation fan not running properly. You can diagnose a symptom by taking your possibilities and break them in half. And then when you have that half, then take it again and break it down in half again. And then just process of elimination. You can always work the problem in reverse to find the answer better.
So, Bobby, do you ever offer like ride-alongs?
What do you mean?
Like where somebody like me can fly out and ride with you guys?
I've never done that with another company. That's always been like an in-house training thing, but I'd be open to it.
Yeah, I definitely want to fly up and hang out with you guys. Because I've been trying to get like guys down here to let me ride with them. Like people always want to ride with me.
Right.
They never want to let me ride with them. They'll tell me, yeah.
Where do you live?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
Florida?
Yeah.
There we go. I'm actually going down to New Orleans the 23rd through the 25th of this month.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got back from Indy, and now I'm going to be heading down to New Orleans, but I'm going to be taking a little vacation time with my wife down there. But I was going to say, yeah, I'm going to be on, what's that street called? Bourbon Street?
Have fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it. But yeah, I've never done that in-house, or I'm out of house, but I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, because I just think that you know, that's the whole thing. You know, I'm humble enough, to ask these guys, and you know, because this is what my process is. I'm gonna give you my process. Like I had a customer call me. They got an NF code on a Samsung. I had them send me the model number, all the information. So the first thing I do is I went to appliantology.com,
A
downloaded the, huh?
A no-fill NF code. You're talking about a
Yeah.
washer?
Yep.
Okay.
So, you know, of course, I'm automatically thinking water valve, but I don't assume that. I go through the process. So I went ahead and pulled the paperwork and everything, the tech sheets, went through everything, checked on the price and availability, created an estimate so that when I go see the customer in the morning, I have all that stuff ready to go. I'll go through the process of checking what I need to check, checking for calcium, you know, deposits in the valve itself, checking
Right.
for solenoids, you know, to see if the solenoids are working properly with my meter, and things of that nature. But, you know, I try to go in as prepared as possible and cut down on my diagnostic time, my estimate of presentation time. Parts already ordered, sitting at Marcone.
Because you said Samsung, it's just that's my wheelhouse naturally. So I'll go right off the hip just because I've got enough of those under my belt that I can go off memory, you know, pretty damn consistently. So pending the model number, if it was a, you know, like if it's a washer, it's going to be a WA40 H5000, something along those lines. So if it's an H model, you're going to hold, you know, like soil and signal, and then turn the unit on. That's going to bring you up into diagnostics. Move the dial to the left. Now you're on the pressure switch. So when you hit start in the diagnostics mode, you're instantly going to be filling from the cold valve. So within 15 seconds, I'm already to the pressure switch. I've already got the valve engaged, and I'm turning on and I'm running the unit. The two screws in the back, just pop those two off, pop the top off, take your meter, go right to that valve. Do I have 120 volts? I have 120 volts there. You know, I have no water coming into the, you know, to the unit. So I automatically know, okay, you know, perfect. The valve's working, the main board's responding. I still don't have any water. I'm going to check the water source. So turn the valve off, open it up. You're either going to have a clogged filter or you're going to have a problem with that valve. You know, it's got voltage, but it's seized. Ohm it out, see if it's 1,000 ohms. You got, if it's not 1,000 ohms, presto, you got a bad valve. If you had no water, boom, you can you know, find out easily. So on an NF code on a washer, I'm in and out of that house in 15 minutes.
There we go. I
mean, it's just, that's just cake work to me.
Now, how would you price that?
How would I price it?
Yeah.
So very, very easily, everything with me is systematic when it comes to estimates. I actually went to, you know, classes and training classes on these ones to learn how to give estimates. Your service call, you're going to have wholesale and retail on all your parts. So if it's something you stock, great, fix it right then and there. If it's something you have to order, then understand the difference of what is a customer expense and what is a company expense. So a customer's expense is at retail. They're going to have the retail price, the shipping, the tax, the service call, and then whatever my time's worth. So based on that labor rate, usually I try to target about $185, $200 profit per call. So, I mean, you know, based on the home, based on the scenario, I'll adjust my labor to try to, you know, accommodate my value. And then for that specific home that I'm in. So I'm already at 75. The part markup's going to give me $30. So I'm already at 100. I just have to adjust my labor now to about $100. So I tell the customer the service call fee is $75 for me to come out. This is going to be basic labor. So basic labor you guys are looking at is $100. Your part was $63 and your shipping's 12, your tax was 4. But when
keep going.
One thing I like to do is like I'll go to like a reliable I try to avoid Marcone and try to avoid Sears, because sometimes their parts are going to give you what their part listing is. Like, especially with Sears, there's not a lot of profit room there. Reliable seems to be, pretty reliable, giving a difference. And the difference on that is, if you're on reliable.com, you're on retail pricing. You are not going to pay what that price is right there. If you are on reliable.net, you are on the back page of Reliable, and you're now dealing with wholesale pricing. You're logged in. So understanding that you are going to make a profit on the part, and the customer is going to be paying for the shipping. That's not a company expense. Customer pays the shipping, so your markup is still there. You already collected a service call, whether or not they fix it or they don't fix it. So the difference is do you pay minimum labor and whatever the part is, but you're still making $200 something an hour, to be in that home and generate a profit. But you're giving the customer a systematic estimate. So if somebody calls up and says, you were out here 2 months ago and, you told me it was going to be this, that's fine. Yeah, go for it. If it's written up like that, and there's enough money to profit. But if you do this, let's say you do 6 calls a day and your profit's $200 per call, you're generating $1,200 a day. If you times that by 5 at the end of the week, you're looking at $6,000, profit for that week.
Game.
That's pretty damn good. That's $300,000 per year.
I have a question, but really quick. I noticed that we have a new face, Jeffrey. I wanted to welcome you to the call, and if you're up for it, feel free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself. We know your name, but where are you working out of, and are you working for a company? Do you run the company? Anything that you wanted to tackle on these calls?
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I got the invite from this board. We're part of the Appliance Bootcamp group on Facebook. And I actually was late. I should have been here at 8 o'clock, but I was driving. But I'm brand new to the industry. Started my own company, S Corporation, I believe. I'm learning, man. I don't really know. Like, I'm so green, it's crazy. So I'm soaking up any and everything at this point. I really don't have much to offer in terms of expertise, but I'm here to learn. I'm honest, I'm genuine. I put my best foot forward. I have experience. I've probably been running for about 2 months now. I'm based out of New York. I'm based out of New York City. So I run a lot of calls in like northern New Jersey, upstate New York, Westchester County, Brooklyn, Queens, and all that. I might get a house in the Bronx. I don't really deal with like buildings, like high-rise buildings. Well, Choice is going to send me. I do have a work order for a Viking microwave on a building in White Plains, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I'm green, man. I'm here to learn. So
Yeah, no worries.
That's put it.
No question is a dumb question, and yeah, what's your company name?
Big Time Appliance Repair, BIGTYME, Appliance Repair Incorporated.
Nice. Well, welcome. And yeah, feel free to chime in at any time if you had any questions about what's going on, or sometimes if the conversation dies down, I'll try to, tag the group to throw a question out there. And but yeah, Bobby, I'm curious. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Well, I was gonna say, Jeffrey, being brand new and having and being just into the company, what's your primary focus as just starting off?
Hold on, I'll be right there. Wait a minute. Primary focus wise, just starting off, probably confidence in running calls. I've noticed I've gone on calls before where there have been times I've been completely clueless. So probably I do I need more, just get more comfortable with what I'm dealing with as far as testing this, testing that, figuring out what the problem is and everything.
You set up as an S corporation?
Yeah. That's me and my accountant felt that was best.
So do you have a GMB? Do you have a Google My Business?
No, I haven't even done that part.
Make that your first thing.
There you go.
Yeah, I never even heard of that. What is that?
You need to be talking with Alex about all that. That guy is a mastermind on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeffrey,
I'm here.
you said where did you hear about this call? I'm happy to follow up with you and point you in the right direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I told him about it.
Okay.
Remember I
Oh,
told
yeah,
you I
Graham
posted
was
it in the group?
Cool.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, I'll try to find you on Facebook, or I'll touch base with Rochelle. I'll point you in the right direction. Yeah, Google My Business. I had a follow-up question for Bobby, but he just ran out. So in the meantime, Google My Business is essentially your business's map entity on the Google Maps. And yeah, pretty much following up with Bobby's recommendation is that you'll want to get a Google My Business profile set up and verified through Google so that you can show up on the maps. But most importantly, when you finish up with a happy customer, you're going to want to ask them in whatever way you decide to ask them, but ultimately you're going to want to ask them for an honest review. And over time, those reviews on your Google My Business listing are going to build up. And there's a handful of things that can come out of that.
Your reviews are your advertisement, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that's strong.
Yeah, because to a certain degree, a first-time lead to your company, they're kind of taking a chance on an appliance repair company. And they're going to be looking at a couple of things. First is, and this is my experience, so guys chime in if you feel otherwise, but one of the things they're looking at is, how fast can you get out there to perform the repair or perform the service call? But then beyond that, they are going to be looking for what we call social proof, that you're the right company for them to choose. And reviews are one of those. But hey, Bobby, I wanted to go back to some of the stuff you were talking about, Bobby. You were talking about your kind of your estimating or your pricing approach. And I'm curious what you do for labor and also what you recommend. Do you have flat labor fees, or do you do like billable by hourly rate?
So it's really hard to sit there and say, because especially if you're a general tech, dishwashers cost $300, where some refrigerators cost $3,000. So I mean, there's a big difference in your labor critique. So your bid by job, what you need to do is establish something like similar. And what I like to do on there is I break it down into 3 segments. It's either going to be something basic, something intermediate, or something major. So the service call fee is already going to act. So you have your service call fee already. What I look at is if I'm going to be there for a half hour, it's going to be a basic rate service call. If I'm going to be there 45 minutes to an hour, that's going to be an intermediate. If I'm going to be there working solely for over an hour on this, I'm going to consider that a major repair. I mean, because how I can almost do a compressor in an hour. So the difference on it is basic is going to be for me, it's going to be $100. Intermediate would be $150. Major would be $250. So I mean, have that step up there, because your time is your money. If I'm sitting there for 2 hours, I'm not going to be making $100. I'll be losing money to do that. I'd rather push on and go to the next call, or the customer may not want to have it done. Now, sealed system labor, that's where the big fluctuation goes, and that's where the big money is. Sealed system labor, like for me to do an LG compressor, the most common one I do, and I carry 3 on my truck at any given time. So I can be in a home and flat out, get it done same day, customer's happy, nobody else can do that. So that puts me a step above, a lot of companies that would say they have to order the part or they have to do this and that. No, you have a sealed system one, it's right here, right now. But at the same time, if you're working on a $2,000 refrigerator and you're doing sealed system work, it can get pricey. I mean, you can be getting up to around $800, $900, $1,000, pretty fast. If you're working on a sealed system for a Sub-Zero, where you now have a $10,000 piece of gear that you're working on, doing it for $350 is charity work. You can charge way more for that.
Mm-hmm.
So to carry some parts with you and have that same ability and say, my labor to do this is $900, and they're going to be like, whoa, $900 is way too much. I'm like, your repair is going to be, number one, sealed system, which is the hardest critique for refrigeration, and your repair total is less than 10% of the value of that refrigerator.
Yeah.
So no, systematically, that is actually worth repair. So the higher end ones that cost way more, you can move your price way up just because of the fact that that's what you're doing and you have that experience and you can fix that unit properly. That's what the customers are willing to pay. One of the examples I use is, if you looked at my car broke down, I have a Chevy Cavalier. My alternator cost me $68 at AutoZone. Now my BMW M5 broke down. I need an alternator. I went to AutoZone and they don't carry my alternator. I went to BMW and my alternator cost me $465. It's still just an alternator, but because it's a different brand, it's valued 5 times higher. Your labor is the same.
No, it's good. It's like, it brings to mind something called value-based pricing. Value-based pricing is a term kind of in sort of sales philosophies or methodologies, where the idea is, what kind of value are you bringing the customer, like the end result of your product or service?
Right.
Where's that value at? And then you price it accordingly. So what I'm hearing from you is the same thing conceptually. It's almost like the value is already there in terms of what they paid for that appliance type. The Sub-Zero, it's a higher value. So, it makes sense for your repair to be quoted at the same or at like a similar level. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, but we did kind of get a little bit of a late start. I was thinking, Rochelle, did you want to share a little bit more about, you had mentioned to me earlier before I hit the record button about how you qualify your leads, and that you kind of have some specific things that you're looking for and that need to be in place in order for you to accept that call. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? And I'd love to hear what Bobby may or may not think about that.
Well, in South Florida, I'm very clear about what market I serve, because my service call fee is above standard, as some people would call it. It's what my market will bear. My service call fee is $150, period. And that's because the clients that I deal with live in areas that can afford my fee. So prime example, when I get ready to go to a call, I use House Call Pro. And what House Call Pro does, it gives you a couple of things. Like depending on where I get the call from, the first thing I do is I take the zip code and I check the per capita income. The reason being for 2 reasons. One is if they don't have discretionary income, they can't afford the call or the service or the repair. Like, I don't have time. It's a process of elimination for me. The other thing is I want to make sure I'm getting maximum sales per call, and that I'm dealing with people that appreciate the professionalism that I bring to the table and the effort and all the knowledge and all the research. I just, I deal with a certain clientele. The other thing that I do is I always have the customer, of course, send me the model number and all that type of thing. So I have a full workup when I show up. I work really hard on the pre-diagnosis side. I do research on the weak points with every appliance that I work on, because like I said, I'm approaching this industry the same way I approach my automotive side. being an automotive tech and coming from that side, I bring that same skill set of troubleshooting, diagnosing so that we can fix it right the first time, and making sure I have knowledge in reference to the parts. Now, if the part is under $100, I'll make sure I bring the part with me, and that way I can do a one-stop completion, because my goal is to do my average ticket I'm looking for, if it's just me on the road, is roughly anywhere between $300 to $500 a pop, and I generally do 5 to 7 calls a day. As far as my seal systems, I have technicians that work for me, and they specialize in that. So I might go out and pre-diagnose it, and I'll sell a job anywhere between $900 to $1,500, depending on the refrigerator, and then I'll pay them maybe $250 to knock out the job. I have a great rate on compressors. My compressors run me anywhere between $100 to $200 tops. And that's how I run my business.
So the 1706 and the 801 compressor for LG, the 702 compressor for LG that normally lists at 233, and I'm buying 10 at a time. You're getting a better price break on that?
I'm getting them from this place called South Florida Appliance. I can send you that link, because they are I'm in South Florida, so they're the direct connect to Embraco and all those guys, which are in other countries. Remember, they're global.
I'll ship.
So I'll hook you right up, man. I'm telling you, I get them for $100, 120, 100.
Well, hang on. I just shipped in a couple. Let me look at my invoice.
Y'all realize, man, I'm right here at the port, bro. If they didn't fall off the truck, they damn sure fell off the boat. I don't know.
Well, he's looking for them. What's the name of that distributor?
He's looking for the LGs, because the LGs is flipping dipsy. The beautiful thing about LG is the customer can call LG, and LG will pay like up to $450, and LG will ship them the part. But if you have the part on hand, they're like, yeah, go ahead and fix it. Boom, boom. And I always have the part on hand.
Yes and no. I do like one to two LGs a day. The LGs, they will, but it depends on your area. So like if your area, if they're saying yeah, then they have their LTP for that area is more than 14 days. So basically like they can't get that customer taken care of in-house within a certain amount of time. So they're willing to pay outside, sources to take care of that. Yeah. So like here in St. Louis or there in Indianapolis, where my locations are, LG will say, we'll ship you the part. We're not going to, they'll try anything they can to, prevent it. And I don't do the waiting around to get an answer, because a lot of times they get pushed through from initial dispatch to warranty, from warranty to parts. Mm-hmm. And all I need is a P&A so I can do my job. Just give me the damn P&A. But they want to bounce it around and you waiting on phone for a half hour. That's just going to eat up my time.
Yeah, but I don't even deal with them like that. I just have the customer call. I have the customer lock in the cell, give me 50% upfront deposit, and I have the customer call them, and the customer just gets them to reimburse them the $450.
So I'm curious, how many calls do you run a day with your company?
All right, for myself, for me as the owner, I do anywhere between on a slow day 5, on a busy day I've done up to 9. Now my techs are different, because I have techs that deal with only seal systems, then I have techs that deal with only commercial. So they run different.
Who's doing all the back end work on all of that research?
I am.
So you're actually investing, a half hour per ticket prior to actually running that ticket?
Yeah, because what I do is I do this ahead of time. Like, for instance, all my stuff for tomorrow, I've already got all my tech sheets and folders, electronic folders in my OneDrive. I do all my stuff. I have a process. And the reason I have a process is because once I hire someone to do this, my standard of operations, they have to follow that process.
So I'm not going to tell anybody ever that they're doing too much work. But wow, you're doing a lot of back-end work prior to going through there, and you are very thorough by doing all that. But I mean, you gotta be able to unplug.
Yeah, but I don't have to unplug because all my kids are in college. All that. See how you got family and all that drama. See, I don't have that.
Yeah, like knocking on the door
Did
right
all
now.
that, yeah. All that drama. They waiting on daddy right now. Come on, tighten up. You got stuff to do. Honey-do list. See, I don't have none of that. And I designed my stuff a certain way because I did everything when I was younger. I dedicated myself to my industry. So now it's my time. So I'm bringing all that precision from working on European and highline vehicles, Porsche, Mercedes, Jaguar, blah, blah, blah. I'm bringing all that into appliance repair. So the way I approach it is very different.
Well, I mean, the fact that you're being entry level, you know, like coming in. I mean, I don't mean that disrespectful. I mean, like you just don't have 20 years of background knowledge, you know, on this one. Your approach to it is solid. You're doing all the back end work. You're doing everything possible to get there and maximize, you know, your day one, you know, percentages. Very, very, very much so that it's impressive. It really is. As far as, you know, you working in an income level where you can go 300 to 500 per call, that's also, you know, amazing. My technicians up here, you know, over a consistent average, usually weekly hit, call it a medial average would say 4,500 would be about what my technicians draw in per week. And for the most part, like the payroll to the technicians is usually 40% of their profit. I mean, I pay higher than a lot of companies do, but at the same time, I want my technicians to work hard, and the harder they work, the more money I make. That's just math, and that's just the basis of it. And you can, it depends on what you're salaried, what your W-2, what your 1099. I mean, what your you know company status is. But I want my technicians to have security, and I want faithful in my employees. So naturally, I'm going to pay them. I'm going to pay them good. I don't want them looking on the other side of the fence, and I don't want them complaining. It's like, you know, it's it's hard work, and I'm going to pay you good for it. But all the background work that you do, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I don't do that.
But I do it, Bob, because you got to realize I have to make sure that as a business owner and as a female, I am not taken advantage of because I don't know. And
Right.
you don't know. You have to inspect what you expect, number one.
Right.
Number two, my goal is next year this time, I expect myself and two other technical advisors to be sitting in a workspace, and I will have technicians on the road with Epson glasses on. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. You know what the Epson glasses are?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the ones where I can sit back in my laptop and whatever he's inspecting and pinpoint testing, I can guide him through the process.
Right.
Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to design an appliance repair company that's going to deal with connected devices, you know, everything that's computer related, you understand, and microcompressor driven, because that's going to be my clientele, and my guys will be in there with
So
white. Yeah, go ahead.
I can answer that one. To diagnose those ones and take it to the micro, you know, level that you're looking for. A lot of companies have their own in-house, you know, diagnostics tools. For Samsung, it's Haas and STG. For GE, it's going to be Newfie. Yeah, you know, for LG, they have the phone dial up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can also plug it in. So I mean, a lot of these different ones, they have their own, you know, data analysts, you know, device, you know, available. But to be honest, if you put a 2-year technician that is from LG in there and you watch him do his job, or you take a 2-year Samsung BE or ASC, you know, a branded engineer or an authorized service center, you know, guy from Samsung, and you bring him in and you put him in front of a unit and you ask him to go through the unit and go through everything. He's going to go through and check it. And STG, he's going to follow the error codes. So if an error code says this, well, you know, STG says, you know, main board, possibly this and that. So if we take a look at washers, like you were just saying, if it would be an 8C2 error code, which is a VRT, it's a MEM sensor, mechanical electronic motion sensor. So if they were looking at a MEMS sensor failure and it's an 8C2, well, STG says, put it into test mode and try to run spin. Well, you do that, it's going to fail. And 8C2 is going to pop up saying you can't run the loan. So it's going to say main board. It can be a MEMS sensor. It could be a this and that. Now, if you walk in, like for me, for example, and I come in and I see an 8C2 error code, first thing I'm going to do is the exact same thing. I'm going to go to that diagnostics mode. I'm going to run test. As soon as it runs, that test, I'm going to break out my meter and I'm going to check voltage on the main board. Because I'm going to measure what that MEMS sensor is communicating to there. Because I already know, because I've done 100 of them, it's a wiring harness. Doesn't label that in STG, doesn't tell you to change that in STG, but the difference is going to be experience. So you can have a technician there with all the equipment and all the knowledge and all the ability right in front of you, but it can't make up for experience. And that's just the difference. But the fact that you're arming that technician with as much possible as you can, that's how he is going to obtain, that knowledge. And it's going to be trial through fire. So, I commend you on what you're doing. You're doing a lot of back-end work that most companies, most, places will not. So, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, but that's because they want to do a quick buck. I'm trying to build a brand, an elite brand. And that's why I'm going to focus on specific appliances that are going to dominate the market. And
How long have you been in business?
Huh?
How long have you been in business?
I've been in business since November.
Since November?
Yeah, and I've only been full-time because I left my corporate job in May.
So I'm a partner with Capitan Appliance, and we now have 3 locations. I'll give you an example. We started this company last year. As of last year, I already have 3 GMBs. Every one of the GMBs are combined total. I have 100 and almost 200 5-star reviews right now, and I'm 1 year old. I can tell you that there's 10-year-old companies that don't even have that yet. The biggest thing is, and that's what, like, dealing with Alex and having him redo our webpage and go through everything else. We have paid so much in advertising and trying to get everything else, but we've also been trying to build a social platform, establish a name. I'm not a 30-year-old company that has, a client base extending back 3 generations. I don't have that. I'm fresh to the game. I want people to, to understand that I'm better than another company. I'm faster than another company. My estimates are systematic. There is no price gouging. It'll be fair, quick, done, and done right. So what I've been doing is, and one of the things that we consider our standard is, every day that we're doing work, we find one customer that likes us. One customer that just, you feel that connect, when you're there doing them, they're happy to pay you. They're happy that you were able to get there and fix it right then and there. That's the perfect customer, because what you're going to do with that customer is you're going to give them a discount. And you're like, we do have a special right now. Any 5-star review that you guys put on Google, I can take $20 off your ticket right now. Or you can say 10% or 25 or 15 or whatever you want to do. But number one, you already got a happy customer, and they're already willing to pay that price. But now you're going to give them some of that money back and return the favor with a 5-star review. If you do that every single day, what you're looking at is, inside the first month, you can have 30, 40 reviews, all 5-star. Now, if you do that for 6 months, you can have 100, 200, at that point. That's one of the things that puts us a little bit above everybody else, is when you do that and you make that your standard. A year from now, what's that going to have? How is that going to alter your business?
Exactly.
Well, if you come up next to somebody else, like in my area, I have some 30-year-old companies here with 440 reviews. And that's pretty good. You've been doing it 30 years. I've been here 1 and I got 150. I did, 25% of what you did inside my first year. But I have more 5 stars than you do. And you have all these, negative reviews. Now, don't get me wrong. I think some negative reviews, if you get a customer on there that has a 1, I think, Alex, you brought that up. That can be a strong thing because it shows how you're willing to handle a bad situation. And, you're responding fast. You're taking care of it. To be honest, we just got our first 1-star review ever. None of us are happy about it. The customer is not being too erratic, but he's wanting a refund on a service call because we can't provide the part. The part doesn't exist. There's nothing I can do about it. Whether or not, even if I came there and said, it was going to be $12,000 and you said, oh, I don't want to fix that, you still owe the service call. But the fact that I can't provide the part, I can't obtain it, you want me to refund you the service call fee? We said no. We got a 1-star review out of it. Even though I'm in the right, I will happily give that guy back his $75 and wash my hands with the job completely to make him happy, to remove that 1 star and possibly even turn it into a 5-star. I don't care about $75. I care about a 1-star review. So if that's what it means and that's what it takes, well, screw it. I'll be willing to do it. But I mean, it's one of those things that's to take it to a new level of elite, you have to be able to advertise it, and not just you advertising and paying to have somebody do it. You actually have to have customers that'll support that, hey, they are the best. Because that word of mouth, that 5-star review, it's when you do this and that, that's what's going to put you above any other company. Because they don't know about your service. They don't know about your standards. They don't know about anything before they call you up. And that's what's ultimately going to get you more money.
No, it's good stuff. I hate to do it on a high note, but we're going to have to shut it down for the day. But what's that, Rochelle?
I was telling Bobby, thank you.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in and say, it's all about process. Rochelle's talking about this back-end work she's doing, but she's documenting the process so that she can delegate that. Bobby's talking about this process for soliciting reviews. There's so many places in business where establishing and maintaining processes are really key. But yeah, with that, I hope you guys have a nice rest of your night. We'll be back here next week.
Yeah, definitely. Alex, I'll get in touch with you either tomorrow or I'll have Howard do it in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take it to the next level.
Sounds good. Awesome. Looking forward to it. All right. Take care, Bobby. Take care, Rochelle.
All right. Good night.
See ya.